Are loved ones spirits around us all the time? No, they're not. They come and go, but they do hear you. That's the magic of being in the afterlife. They don't have to be around you to hear you. They don't have to be right in your face, basically, but they will give you signs. And there's definitely a lot that are, they do get frustrated sometimes because of the fact that they could give you little signs. They could put on a song that you like, a song that they liked. They could show you something that, you know, would normally remind you of them. It could be a color. It could be, you know, a topic that comes up just out of the blue, and you think, why are they talking about that? That's what, you know, it could be speedway, things to do with cars, boats, aeroplanes, whatever. All these things are also little signs, but sometimes they are normal discussion. The thing is, it's up to you to figure out what signs are actually being given to you. Do our loved ones choose to come back? So you mean reincarnation? Well, as Spirit said before, we do have spirits that cross paths with one another. New souls can enter, and there could be a part of that energy from that soul that is carried in with that new life around that baby, that new baby. But it doesn't mean that if you passed over, you wouldn't get to meet your loved one, because you would. Their energy, everything is energy, and your energy, believe it or not. If you think about people who are, you know, they get into a fire, as an example, they melt. Skin melts because it's made of energy. We are not indisposable, and our bodies are the only thing that are disposable, but not our soul. Our soul is always, it is always complete. It is an energy, a blueprint, if you will, for who we are as an individual. A person who's a real asshole won't appear as nice looking in the afterlife as what they were here. So usually those ones with high opinions of themselves, or they're, you know, that type of thing, they're not going to appear like that in the afterlife unless their soul is a copy of that image. Otherwise, they will appear as their true form, their true image. They do celebrate. They do have parties. Their celebration is the day that they passed. That's basically replacing their birthday. We celebrate their birthdays still usually, but they often say, okay, I'm not older, I'm still the way I was when I left this world, but I am at my best. And you'll find that the majority of the souls, they always appear then at their best, except those who have been bullies or really nasty people. They don't look as nice. Absolutely, they celebrate with us on earth. Oh my goodness, the times of Christmas, Easter, all the holidays, and the moments that even when we have a birthday with one another, I've seen my loved ones come up and they're hugging the person and they're celebrating as well. They're standing around where the food is and talking with one another as though they were just there normally. So even when you feel like, I don't want to have a birthday because that person isn't here, celebrate, because they're going to be there. You're not going to be alone. So they definitely do celebrate with us. A lot of them say, I'd find it hard to sit now because they're just energy. They will sit, but they will only sit temporarily. It's like they just don't feel the weight that they had before with their physical form, because their spirit, they are light as a feather. But it's amazing from what they explained to me. You've been seeing a lot of triple numbers lately. Is there a meaning behind it all? I always think the angels and spirit guides, absolutely, Germana. I think I've posted that many times on the Facebook page, that those numbers, those consecutive numbers, are actually angel numbers. And when you see them, know that you've got someone around you. Know that you've got an angel with you. Ask them for help with it, with something that you've got as a problem. You usually find when you're either going through something or you're feeling down, you might see those numbers. If you are feeling like you're just sort of like existing, you will see those numbers. So absolutely, they are there as a way of telling us we're not alone. These are reminders as well to you. So usually when you're stopping and seeing these, like the other day I had 444. I've seen that, I've seen the ones, I've seen the twos. You know, it's like the minute you look at that, you could be looking at your monitor and see the number, like the time down the bottom, and there it is right in front of you. Do we have a purpose when we pass? I feel like we spend so much time on earth worrying about our purpose, and we almost shape our lives to try to achieve our purpose. Well, you're here for a reason anyway. You might not know it. I'll give you a good example. You might stop a child from being hit by a car, and that child could end up being a professor of medicine. That child could go and probably cure cancer. That child may be making a big impression. If you step in and help an animal, for example, that animal might be there as a form of healing for you in some way in your life. If you take in pets, you know, like strays, like I do, there's a form of, I don't know whether you would call it replacing what is gone, but it keeps you busy. It keeps you feeling like you do have a purpose. You're just not here to just waste away. You're not here to just, you know, throw your time to sleep, because the majority of us will sleep more than we actually need to. And you keep hitting that snooze button or things like that. You've got to be alert. You've got to make sure that you are getting a regular sleep pattern in. Otherwise, it's going to, you know, have havoc on you. Just remember that your body is a temple. Your body is a gift that your soul is living in. You know, it's like a house. If you keep the house untidy, then you're going to feel ugh. And that's how your soul will feel. If you're not looking after yourself or doing things, your soul's going to feel it. And I feel like my soul feels, you know, everything that I've done. Those who follow my page can see how overzealous, that's the only word I can find, overzealous of trying to bring an end to the unnecessary slaughter of animals. Chickens, newborn chickens, just because they're male, they're not, you know, put to sleep like in a respectable way. They're thrown either on a conveyor belt going into a mincer alive, or thrown into a mincer, and there's this great big bin where the body that has been shredded up is thrown in. And there was this video I saw, and I actually shared it because I feel it's important we understand how cruel the dairy industry is and how cruel the meat industry is. And it's an eye-opener. Seriously, if you are a meat eater and you watch what these animals are going through for a 5-minute meal, if that, and so many people waste their food, you go and you might not finish a steak, put it in the bin or throw it to the dog. That's a life that was sacrificed in the most heinous of ways. Its blood was spilt. And if you think about us in comparison to animals, they have a brain, they have eyes, they have a tongue, they have blood in their veins, they have a stomach, they have a heart, they have everything we have. The only difference is they look different. They don't speak our language. And people think because cows don't, cry or like make whining sounds and stuff like that, they're not suffering. People have been conditioned to think that they don't suffer, that the slaughter is quick and painless and they don't know what's going on. Well, when I had a discussion with not one but several spirits, including my mother, oh my God, at first I didn't believe it. At first I thought, no, this cannot be happening. My mother sat with me and she said, she always calls me Angela still. She said, Angela, I've seen things from this world, from the new world, looking at this world. She said, everyone there is in hell. Those were her words. We are in hell. We've got to find a way out of it. And she said, I have had my eyes open. And she said, and it breaks my heart to see what I was helping through this life that I was living there in that hell. She said, I didn't think it was hell until I look at it from this angle, from this new world. She said, there's no killing here. Animals are walking among us. She said, she hugs cows. She's seen their suffering. And my mother, God love her, she said to me that she went to one of the abattoirs because she felt she owed it to herself to see what she was being ignorant to. Because she said, when you get in the, she said, you'll see when you get over here how much clarity you've got, how much knowledge you've got, how much feeling you've got, because there's nothing to stop the feeling. There's nothing there to suppress it or push it down into the belly. The feelings are real. And she went to one of these abattoirs and she stood crying because she knew she couldn't intervene in that, because no one physically was going to intervene. She saw them kicking a cow in the head. It was pregnant. They were beating it over the head with sticks, and then they ripped the baby out of its gut, like they just cut it open while it was alive. It was kicking and everything like that. Blood was going everywhere. She said, they are evil. She said, everyone who works in those places, she said, the amount of negativity that is, the energy around that. She said, the animals, they're sensing it as they're walking in. She said, people say it's the smell of blood. It's not. It's the smell of death. They do have a soul. Absolutely. And I think realistically this should be a topic, because too many people are just, oh, I'll have a meat pie, I'll have lasagna. No thought, no second thought. I know, I've been there myself. I used to go shopping and I would, stuck up in the meat department and just throw those trays of meat into my trolley and then have them, so I had a full fridge whenever we needed meat. There's no meat in our fridge anymore. There's no fish in our fridge. There's vegetables, there's fruit, there's healthy things. Milk, nah. I have the soy milk and it's beautiful. And I never ever thought in my whole life I would have soy milk at all. And it's lovely, it really is. Just listening to my mother, and she said to me, "You're killing yourself." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not smoking. I'm not taking drugs or anything like that." She said, "You're killing yourself." She said, "You're all killing yourself." You can have a look online if you want. There's been people who have said that when they've had a heart transplant, suddenly they've got a new craving for something. They suddenly feel like tacos when they never liked tacos, or and they have questioned now if organs and parts of our body that's donated to other people, whether that has a memory. And it does. It really does. And so if you're thinking about eating a cow or even a chicken, the chickens are really smart animals. They're not stupid. They are really smart animals. You're eating that bird, you're taking in a part of its fear, those last final moments of its life, and parts of its existence, whether it was like confined in a cage. Do a comparison. Think about how sometimes you feel stuck. You feel like, I can't do anything. I can't think straight. I'm in such a bind that I can't get out of this. My insecurity is so incredibly high. We go through these mixed emotions. Like 1 minute we can be okay, next minute we could be snapping at people. Where do you think that's coming from? Think about it. Where do you think that is coming from? You're consuming meat of something that has been standing, watching right in front of it, ones go before it, getting killed. That fear has to go somewhere. It goes into the meat. And we are consuming that. And we're taking that into our body, and it's sitting there for longer than it needs to, because our intestines are a lot longer than an animal's. An animal that goes out and kills a prey and consumes it doesn't have as long an intestine as we do. So therefore that meat is sitting rotting inside our body, doing God knows what, sending its energy, its negativity, the things that it's been through. Then that's got to go somewhere, because we are all energy. That animal's energy, if we die and our organs are donated, someone's going to get some part of our memory, some part of something that we carried in those final moments. Yeah, cows were crying. I've actually had a video where there's a tear that's falling down this cow's eyes because it's watching the other ones being killed. They feel, they know, and their souls, although their soul goes free for a while, that soul is really messed up. My daughter, for example, oh my God, everything was like, if we went out, she had to have McDonald's nuggets all the time. And then I showed her a video. That was it. I think that is the fastest way to turn vegan. You can have casseroles that are made from vegetables. The nature's meat is mushroom. You can try all different types of mushroom, and you can have those raw or you can have them cooked, whichever you like. I used to like a little bit of vinegar with the mushroom, and I would fry it, or a little bit of Sprite, this Sprite lemonade that caramelizes it, so that's really nice. Those types of things, like just making like the breadcrumbs that are vegan breadcrumbs that you get, you can sort of sprinkle those over like a soy white sauce mix, with the cauliflower and broccoli and carrots and shallots and stuff like that, and just make it like a really nice meal. You can have pasta with it, and you can get vegan pasta. You can even get vegan meat now, so it actually is 100% plant-based, and it is very, like, it's got a stronger taste to it, but it looks like meat, or it looks like mince anyway. You can also get ones that taste like chicken. You just sort of add water, mix it up, and you can have it like schnitzels. It's really, really good. So some of my favorite foods are mainly, like pumpkin. I like steamed pumpkin. I could eat a whole pumpkin if I wanted to, because it just melts, and I don't peel the skin off. The vitamins are right in the skin itself of the pumpkin. So I just put that in the oven. I might brush it with a little bit of canola oil or vegetable oil. Canola is okay, but vegetable oil is my preference. So you just brush it over, leave it in the oven until you've got like that golden brown around the edges of the pumpkin, and it's so soft. And at the bottom of the oven, I put like another tray filled with water, so it gives it a steaming kind of effect inside the oven, because I use gas. Rice, there's a lot of rice that you can have. You can have anything, honestly. It's limitless. You can have vegetable soup. You can make a lot of different things. You can even use like the plant-based mince, make meatballs, or plant-based balls, if you want to put it that way, and make yourself like a Dutch soup with the minestrone, and use the meatballs. It's beautiful. And you add like a little bit of the vegan pasta in there, the pasta shells, and after a few days it's delicious, especially if you chop up onion and throw the onion in with a bit of garlic. It's absolutely lovely, and it's very filling, and it could actually last 3 days. You can get three days of meals out of it. But I have a lot of smoothies because of the fact that trying to digest solids is quite difficult for me. So everything's got to be pureed. I love applesauce. I've got to like that a lot. Fish is not vegan. Fish feel. Think about those fish that are caught in nets, and their bodies are like pressing up against one another, and those ones that are pressed up against the nets being cut into and everything like that. I mean, why? And when I used to go fishing with my parents a long time ago. We'd take a boat out on the harbour, do a bit of fishing, catch a few fish, throw them back. And even Mum said, she said, I wish I never did fishing. She said, because I've even seen what they go through. She said, when you're in this realm, you hear everything. She said, I've heard the animals screaming, whereas, you know, to look at them, you're not seeing anything happening. You're not hearing anything. So that's where people get this idea that they're not feeling anything. She said, I hear them screaming. So it's so different. Corn, oh my goodness. Corn, I even puree corn, and it is lovely, absolutely lovely. It's hard, I understand, for many to give up meat, but wean yourself off it. You're actually going to feel a lot better within yourself. I mean, my skin improved out of sight. When I stopped eating meat, I noticed that I had less blotchy complexion. I was like getting a lot of lines and everything like that, and you know, I'd wake up and I would look like a nightmare. I mean, I still look like a nightmare, but my skin is just so healthy. I used to have these breakouts like you wouldn't believe, really like cystic kind of acne. It was crazy, and I was very hygienic, cleansing my face, but it wasn't what I was using on my face. It was what I was putting into my body. So when you start changing that, you'll notice such a big difference. You'll just notice it. I just wish I'd done it sooner, because, you know, it'd make a big difference. I find myself wishing I liked veggies more to become vegan. The needs of an animal should come before my need to eat. Absolutely believe that animals know so much more that we give them credit for, and that just because we sit at the top of the food chain doesn't mean we should kill to satisfy our tastes. We're not worthy to feel above so many species that may not be able to speak in a way we understand. Not that talking makes us the more intelligent species. Indeed, speaking for many shows exactly the opposite. Perfectly said, Francois. I sat in a car park of an abattoir while a friend handed in a resume. Oh, it was the saddest thing I ever heard. The cows were crying, knowing what was about to happen. Try and put yourself in this situation. You are comfortable with your home. You're about to have a baby. Go into the hospital and you give birth to that baby, and you see it, and then you see it being taken away in a wheelbarrow, crying. You haven't even had a chance to feed it, and you get up and you follow that wheelbarrow, and then you see them kill the baby, and then you're plugged up to a machine to provide milk, the milk that your baby could have had. And that machine rips at you, and you can't even get any relief because they put on the strongest pressure possible. And you're still healing on the inside from just having a baby. Imagine if our life were like that, how many people would be up in arms, wanting justice, wanting someone to do something to stop it. And this is exactly what we're doing every single day. Every time we buy milk from the supermarket, 3 litres, 4 litres, how many bobby calves have been killed just for that milk? I just can't imagine what they must go through, how they must think, how evil the human race is. I can't imagine. And then after you are done and your milk's dried up and you can't have any more babies, they kill you. And you think of a pig. People go stir crazy being, in lockdown because of the fact that, they've got nowhere to go because you can't go out. Well, imagine being confined between 2 metal bars cutting into you. You can't move. You can't even turn around. And if you lie down, your sides get dug into with these cold metal bars. And you might be taken out and mated, if you want to put it that way, because that's all it is. Sex. They have babies. Babies are killed. And then you're killed. What a life. If you could swap with one of the animals that you're having in your meal, would you do it? What is the most valuable lesson I've learned from Spirit? Good question. I've learnt many. Not that I practice them all, which I probably should, but I'm only human. I make mistakes. I stuff up. I get told don't say something and I say it anyway. It's like you're confident. You speak to somebody and they give you advice and you go against that advice. And then you learn. You learn the hard way. I've been there. I guess that was one of my biggest lessons. The other one was obviously when Spirit was telling me, not one, it was Albert, Chris, my mother, all telling me that my other half was cheating. And I refused to believe him. And as a result, he was cheating. I guess I blamed myself for a while because of the fact that I was working back and doing long hours with the readings and stuff like that. And I blamed myself, but then I thought, you know what? If a person is really there for you, you could be working 24 hours a day. You could be sent away to work in a mine, for example. You should have the right to come back and know that person is still faithful. So if they're not, then they weren't meant for you. They probably aren't meant really for anybody. If they can do that once, twice, 3 times, and you forgive them over and over, they're going to meet somebody one day who won't tolerate it. He'll say, I'm not putting up with this. So there are lessons that we all have to learn. Sometimes we learn lessons through somebody else's mistake. We learn who we can and can't trust. We learn who to love. Sometimes we're here to learn to just love ourselves, to stop putting everyone else before your needs. It sounds selfish because we're taught you don't think like that. But there's a saying the Russians have: take from the well first to nourish yourself, then there's plenty left for others. If you're not strong, how can you provide? If you don't care for yourself, how can you look after your kids? If you're not happy, how do you expect your children to be happy? Sometimes you've got to think me, so that way you can be strong. What happens to a soul that has taken an innocent person's life? Do they go to limbo, or is it in God's hands? What happens to the soul? Those spirits that have come to me, the ones who have killed somebody, they usually do ask for help. The thing is, the minute that you leave your body, you're not alone. No matter what, no matter where you are, you can be in the desert, you can be falling into a hole in a cave, and if your soul leaves your body, it's not alone, because always around us are angels, always around us are our spirit guides, and many will see them the moment your body is no more. And those people who usually have killed or done something terrible, they usually are forced basically to stand and see the damage that they've done to others, the suffering that they've caused, and their soul has to make things right in some way, whether it be bringing happiness to someone that they caused misery to. If they killed a person and their loved ones suffered, usually that soul has to make peace for those people in some way. It's very hard. But there are lessons that we're all going to go through, and there are things that you might think are no big deal. You might have seen that you've been given an extra $10 when a person gave you back change in the shopping centre. Usually everything's on key card now, but you know, if you get extra money in your pocket and you know that it's been accidentally given to you and you don't do anything or correct it, you have to pay, and you'll pay tenfold. You may find later on down the track either you or one of your loved ones are going to be robbed, and they might take a life. They might take, you know, something that you value very, very dearly. So you think to yourself, is that $10 worth it? It's not worth it. Practice being a good soul now. Practice being a loving person now. Right now. If there's someone you've got a grudge with, if you've been arguing with somebody, make peace right now, because you don't know what your next hour is going to bring you. You might be here now, but you might not be here in an hour. You know, something could happen. So what do you want to carry with you when you leave this world? You might think, you know, I've got all the things I need here. I'm rich, I've got all the luxuries I want. And then when you die, guess what? You don't have all that taken with you. You will have what you want in the new world. But your soul has to earn it from what it does here. That is what I meant about animals and us at the top of the food chain. If we did the same to humans as we do to animals, what sort of uproar would there be? The scenes we saw after George Floyd would be nothing compared to that uproar. Yet we feel so superior to them that it's not only seen as okay, it's celebrated, condoned, and indeed frowned upon if you don't eat meat by many. I felt a need to look at my meat for some time now, and I'll be looking at alternatives for sure. I really do hope you do. You will feel a difference, and just knowing that you're a part of a movement, if you want to put it that way, a very silent movement to bring an end to this. It may take years, honestly. It might take years. It might take a century. But there will be a time where humans won't want meat. They really won't. They will be disgusted by it, because each generation will actually come to understand that it's not necessary. You can get your protein and iron out of so many vegetables. Sometimes vegetables carry more protein and iron than what meat does, and it's healthier, and it's pure. You'll even feel a shift within yourself. The way that you feel just changes. You feel, I don't know, like, what is there really to worry about? We take so much for granted, but you take it for granted in a better way, because of the fact that you're feeling, you know, lighter within yourself. Mentally you feel lighter. You don't have as many stresses or things like that, or worries on your mind. It's like, it's crazy. It really is. When you change to vegan, it's a spiritual movement. It really is. And as I said, I wish I'd done it sooner. I really do. I just don't have as many stresses on my mind as I used to. I don't get angry as much. I mean, I'm usually a really hothead kind of person, but I just don't have that, you know. I'm just more mellow, more relaxed, and I've actually had more awareness of spirit. Oh, that would be a great one. Can we please try to contact George Floyd and find out what really happened? I would prefer not to, because that poor man has actually been, his soul is not resting, because there are so many people out there like Huff. I don't know whether you know Steve Huff. I mean, the person doesn't even have to be cold in the ground before he's trying to make contact with that soul. I think let him rest. Let him be. It might be very interesting, but what is it going to change? Just knowing. What difference will it make? I think we need to start looking at things very differently. We can contact spirit, we can, at any time, but again, it's up to them. It is up to them. We can welcome them, but it's up to them. But I prefer to give that man the right to have some peace, and I at least want to be able to say I didn't bother him. I wasn't, trying to get a message out of him. If they've been over for a few years, that may be different, because they've had a time to adjust to the new world. It is an adjustment, just as it is for us. I mean, this man had a family, and I think he would probably prefer to be around them, comforting them, rather than speaking to some total stranger in another country. For what? He would probably say, what difference is it going to make? It's done. So do you think we are punished in a way by having a loved one taken? That was an example I used, Kylie. If someone is taken, sometimes they're taken because their time is up. We all have a time that we're meant to do things in. That's why you've got to ask yourself, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Am I here to waste my life? Am I here to sit feeling sorry for myself? What can I do to make the world a better place? What print can I leave for the next generation? How am I going, or how do I want to be remembered? If we go and we choose to have, I know I'm getting off topic, but it all will come back, I promise you. If we choose to wallow and waste our time here, then that is our problem. We will have to catch up in the new world, basically. But a loved one being taken doesn't necessarily mean it's because of something you've done. I was just using that as an example. It can happen though. It certainly can happen. But only you would know. If you've done something really terrible and you know about it and you never ever made peace with that or made it right, then yes, things like this could happen. You had a person in your life for a certain amount of time. What did you learn from that person about yourself? Not necessarily about that person, because everyone you meet opens up some part of you that you didn't realize you had. It could be an emotion, it could be a feeling, it could be, a person who introduces you to a new delicacy, a new dish, a new way of life. They might be, they like to go out, they like to just go for drives, long drives in the country, You never did something like that, and all of a sudden you find it fascinating, because it just takes you out of your space into a new space. Every person, every one of you watching this has somebody in your life who is there for a reason. And however long their time is on this world, and in this world, shouldn't be something that you carry with you as a mourning. I know that sounds selfish, but you shouldn't, because that person, just as you, have a certain amount of time here. When your time's up, your time's up, and nothing is going to stop that from happening. You can have every paramedic working on you, trying to bring you back from some type of catastrophe, and that's it. No matter what they do, and they could be doing everything that they have brought thousands upon thousands back, the same type of thing. They may be in a routine of, you know, we do this and this is what gets the heart starting again, and bingo, they're back. But if that soul chooses, and this is where the choice comes from the soul, that soul suddenly chooses, I don't want to go back to that body. This life feels so much lighter, so much happier. Why would you want to go back? Your body might be injured in a way that's going to take a long time to heal. Some people don't deal with pain. So those that don't deal with pain very well, usually they let their soul go. It's like, I don't want to go back to that because I can't handle pain. But not only that, from what I've been told, the minute that we leave our body, familiar faces are there. People that was such a big part of your life. Even pets. Pets come running up to you. Why would you want to go? Why would you want to go back? That's what it's like, from what Spirit tell me. It's too beautiful to go. And some people come back and they're like, I wish I'd stayed. I felt so much love. I felt so much peace. My grandmother, she passed away. Oh God, she must have passed away about 10 times in one day. Seriously. And they kept bringing her back, using those paddles on her. She was black from the neck right down. She had a broken sternum. They had the the thing that they put in that opens the valve in the heart. They had to pull it out, resuscitate her nearly 10 times. She only had like a tiny little scar on her heart as a result of it. She should have been brain dead or something. She should have been a vegetable. But she came out of it. They worked on her so long. And she was angry. She said, why didn't you let me go? I was happy. I'll never forget those words. And the reason that they worked on her was because we told them to. But she wanted to go. And I will never forget the day that I was with her and the family at the hospital, and right up on the whiteboard were the letters JC. And my grandmother was a very spiritual, believed in God, believed in Jesus, and right in front of her bed on this whiteboard is the letters JC. My aunt pointed it out. She said, look at that, JC, Jesus Christ. And I said a prayer with my grandmother and the family. I got voted to say the prayer. I didn't know what to say. The words were hard because I knew that she was going. I knew that she was scared as well. And the moment her soul left, I felt so much peace. Just this incredible peace. It went right through my body. And I'll never forget, because I was sitting right beside her. And I said, oh my God, the peace. It was so incredible. I uttered those words. Oh my God, the peace. And then I looked at my grandmother. She was gone. I looked over near the doorway, and the wall seemed to be like it was moving. And right in that area, there was like a dome shape. I mean, in a hospital, you've got the square doors, or, you know, big sliding doors or whatever. There's this dome. And standing there is my mother's silhouette. And this was before that peaceful feeling. And I said to my grandmother, Mum's here. And then that feeling, oh my God. All I can say is, if death has that feeling, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing. Nothing I can think of that really has come close to that feeling. It was amazing. And I knew my grandmother's soul had passed through me to be with my mother. And she was happy. She was so happy. And I'll never forget when she visited me. And, well, I actually visited her because I had an out-of-body experience. And she was sitting in this field and just looking so relaxed and calm and happy. And I said, have you seen Auntie Reenie? She said, it's such a big world. Auntie Reenie was her sister. I see Uncle Bill, who I hadn't seen since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And I knew his face. I said, I know you. And he was in my room, standing there smiling at me, grin ear to ear. I said, I know you. He said, you should. I'm your Uncle Bill. And I said, how are you? And I'm thinking, why are you visiting me and not Auntie Reenie? And he said, I'm here because I'm taking someone home and I'm visiting everybody. And so straight away after he left, I get texting, send a message to my aunts, and I say, you won't believe who was just here. Uncle Bill, Auntie Reenie's husband. He looked really well, and he was saying he was here to take somebody home. My aunt replies, oh, I hope that doesn't mean what I think it does. And I said, well, yeah, it does. And she said, no, his son, their only son, has cancer. And I had no idea that he had cancer, because they weren't like, you know, close family type thing. They were sort of like second part of the family. And it would be exactly 1 month to the day of that visit that his son Rod passed away. But the comfort that I had was knowing that his father was there to take him. He was there to help him over. And it was, God, I'm getting emotional. But honestly, from what Spirit has told me, we have, you know, and that feeling, God, I can never forget that feeling. My grandmother shared with me how bloody amazing the other side is. But our loved ones, you know, if you are suddenly doing something like, you know, random things, could be housework, could be feeding the dog, and you suddenly think about them out of the blue, and they've been over for quite some time, mark my words, they are right behind you. They are right there. And they're happy. They're at peace. They are wanting you to know everything is going to be okay. You know, they're saying, we'd walk by the rose garden, not smelling the roses. Never a truer word spoken. We can live in a rose garden, and we've been given roses in our life. And you think about those roses as loved ones, how often we walk by them. Oh, they're busy playing their PlayStation, or they're busy doing this, or, you know, he's out the back, or, you know, I got the phone there, it's connected, it's working, I just can't be bothered calling anybody. I want to watch a TV show. I want to eat this or whatever. I've just got home from work, I just want to be left alone. I mean, you're entitled to be left alone. But that rose garden that you're not walking, or you're walking past and you're not even smelling the roses, talking, communicating, tending to them in some way, making them feel loved, needed, nurtured. That's the rose garden that we're walking by, and we have that rose garden. So stop and smell the roses. Stop and spend a little time tending to the roses in your life, because like a rose, everyone has an expiration, and they can be beautiful 1 minute and gone the next, or they can be picked. And the way I see it is, God has a garden, and He wants the most beautiful bouquet to be a part of that garden. If you look at this world and you choose to look at it through eyes that close to the truth, you don't want to see what's going on. Out of mind, out of sight, right? You want to know what's happening, because it might make you feel icky. It might make you feel bad. But that doesn't have to go on. And you can be a big part of the solution. Problem is, majority of us are a big part of the problem, because we're ignoring it, because we're thinking that, we're not going to make any difference. If every single person had that attitude about, why should I pick up that paper that I've just thrown on the ground? Why bother? Came from nature, or go back to nature. I've heard people say that. Paper comes from trees. Throw the rubbish on the ground. No one's going to notice. Imagine if everyone had that attitude. Just dump things. Don't pick them up. Imagine how dirty your life would become if you did that in your own home. And many people do. Just drop things, throw them around, cover their beds with rubbish. Everything you do is a part of your soul's design, or what you're creating in your soul. If you saw people as souls instead of seeing people as individuals, based on looks, appearance, style, things like that. If you saw them just as a spirit, you would be more inclined to see them in a more forgiving light. You'll be more inclined to realize that, hey, there's really no difference between them and me after all. Every soul that crosses over has been here, it's had its time here to achieve something or to make a difference. And sometimes it can be, say for example, a baby. Beautiful baby born into the world, and then within minutes of taking its first breath, it is no longer here. And you wonder, what did I do to deserve this? You did nothing. It's easier to beat yourself up. It's easy to blame yourself. It's easy to blame probably doctors, or, the pregnancy, I had a fall, or I smoked, or I did this or that, whatever. What that child, what their imprint has left in some way is a lesson. A link to a lesson that you had to learn in some way. Sometimes it's knowing your strength. You think it's so simple. You think I already know myself. I already know my strength. I know my weakness. But you don't until you're confronted with it. The day I lost my son, I felt my world had come to an end. But then I saw him growing so quickly in the new world, telling me how happy he is. He's got friends. He's studying. He's being a minister. He is a minister now. He's teaching religion in the new world. And I said to him, "Why did you go?" Because I felt so empty. And he said, "Because I had to. I had to help make a shift in your life that wasn't going to happen by itself." And I reflected on that, and I realized when that happened, I got a strength in me that I didn't have before. I kicked out the abusive partner who was the cause of my loss. I was 7.5 months pregnant, and I was a victim of domestic violence. I was kicked in the stomach and went into labour and had to deliver my son deceased. Without that strength to give that person the boot, I would have probably continued in that path. So my son brought me a strength, an inner strength, one that I didn't have before. Oh, well, it was there, but it just didn't want to come out. So know that sometimes you will have angels come into your life. Angels might be in the form of a person, children, like my son. They are there, and then they're not, because they're not here to punish you or make you feel guilty. They're here because you've got something to learn through your experience. And ask yourself, after each loss that you've had, what have you discovered about yourself? It might be something very subtle, but you will find new things happening in your life that change you. You think of these people who they go through their life doing whatever, and all of a sudden someone close to them gets leukemia, and all of a sudden they're interested in joining a marathon, donating money to the Leukemia Foundation. All of a sudden there's an interest in this horrible disease, but it's being because of something touching them personally that they suddenly decided, I need to get active on this. We are giving gifts, like we might get a bonus, we might get, you know, a little bit of extra money that comes to us somehow, and you think, oh good, I can buy myself a new handbag, or I can, you know, put it through the poker machine, or whatever it might be. Sometimes those little things come to you not for that reason, but so that you can help contribute to a change. Don't wait for someone in your family to get leukemia. Don't wait for someone to get breast cancer. Don't wait for somebody to get Alzheimer's or, you know, die from a suicide before you start trying to make a difference. That's what our life's about. Changing the wrong that has already happened, the things that we've just sat back and ignored and sat on our hands doing nothing about. And that's what spirits say, is that the clarity that they have suddenly in the new world makes them realize what a waste they did in this world. And I've asked Spirit in the past, as you know, why can't those who are passionate about animal abuse and everything, can't they just step in and stop this? And Spirit said to me, until the living put in the effort, the real effort to stop this and to bring it, bring it to its knees, we can't intervene. But if you put 50% in, we'll put the other 50% in.
In Asia once, I watched them crucify dogs, and so they would get their paws and they would nail gun them into walls. And I think that was like the catalyst to where I died as a human being.
Eating dog meat has been a tradition in some Asian countries for 400 or 500 years, and according to Humane Society International, in China, up to 10 million dogs are believed to be killed for meat each year.
We can't be hypocrites and say don't eat dogs. I think the hardest part to understand is the torture.
The factory farming industry in America, I mean, it's a problem too. And so, I'm vegan, so I don't even eat meat. Where in America or other countries, I guess you're supposed to just kill an animal for slaughter. Why, to me, there's a difference is they are specifically abusing them because they believe it makes the meat better.
When he's not rescuing dogs across Asia, Mark runs his local businesses in Los Angeles. One being the Petstaurant, a natural food company for animals that also provides free consultations for health issues and animal nutrition.
We make like organic, fresh food. We kind of cultivate our food to focus on skin issues, cancer, kidney, liver.
And the other being the Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation, which focuses on rescuing dogs around Los Angeles from severe abuse and torture.
In the area, we do a lot of gang pulls, so we go into kind of like gang territory.
Basically, Mark does all the saving of the dogs. He brings them here, and then I do the finding of the homes. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I started working with Mark. And then when I got to know Mark and know what he's doing, it's profoundly changed me.
Mark has now taken a total of 6 trips across Asia and rescued over 300 dogs. And the way he gets into the slaughterhouses is pretty ingenious. He hires a team of locals to help him do research and then goes in undercover as a rich American businessman and potential business partner. What
happens is when I arrive in a country, I have a translator guide, and I kind of teach them how to be more persuasive. Like, when we show up, this is my client from America. He's a rich American who brings all these dogs back for the importation of dog meat in the US. So based on that assumption, they'll show me everything they're doing. It allows me to see, okay, their processing techniques, how they torture, which ways they torture. And so it's a big thing in I guess really portraying the inside of these places to the public. And, I have videos of hangings, burning them alive, boiling alive, cutting their feet off while they're still alive, strangulation.
And it's that brilliant cover that allows Mark to trick the slaughterhouses into giving him the dogs for free.
And so, for instance, I'll tell the owner of the slaughterhouse, like, look, I've seen all your torture techniques, I've seen how you process. I'd like to try the meat. I'd like to take that dog there, hanging, those 4 dogs on the table, you cut these legs off. I'd like to take them and try to see how great your product is.
Mark's campaign in Asia is not focused on just rescuing dogs. He also wants to use the video he takes from inside the slaughterhouses to create international outcry in order to get the attention of local Asian governments.
It's hard to wrap your brain around. You know, Mark will send me these videos and I'm like, I can't look at it because I can't even watch through a screen. I don't know how he stands in front of it and bears witness to it. I really don't know.
Was, in Mark's words, G-rated.
And it's no longer this heroic kind of like act of where, you know, you go to some place and you do these great things to where you feel so good about yourself. Now, it's just changed because I'm in the slaughterhouse and so I have to watch the brutality and things like that. And so, I don't know, it's totally different.
He is determined to document the most brutal of torture methods, including some he hasn't been able to capture on film yet, in order to put a stop to it. And sometimes that can get dangerous.
My first trip to now, because of the countries I'm going into, the instances of endangerment are a lot higher. But not only that, I think in regions where they have no law, to where there's no structure or consequences, they're more prone to assault you or things. But the true reason onto why I'm having more occurrences of, I guess, conflict is that I'm kind of losing it. This last trip in Cambodia, you know, I got hospitalized and I got beat up, and so.
By the guys that run the slaughterhouse?
Well, so I was watching this guy like dismember a dog and I kicked him in his face, and so that's kind of what happened. And I don't know. You know, I'm just losing it out there, and so. But I have to go because, like, a part of me, like, feels like if I don't do it, you know, nobody else will, and so. You know, it's hard for my wife, I imagine, like, you're out there and you're watching, and, like, you know, your husband who has children, he's over there getting assaulted, and he's in these areas where they have guns and firearms, and, like, she probably thinks, like, what's this guy doing, man? And like sometimes I ask myself, like, what am I doing out there? But then deep inside, I know it's because somebody has to, and if I don't, nobody will. And that these dogs will just end up just being burned alive or tortured, and I'm already planning my trip 7, and like I'm stuck there. And I'm gonna be there until I get what I need to push the government to change it. I know how to end it, I just need the pieces. And I'm so close. I never thought it was possible for people to do those things. And so I'm trying to find that place to where I can record that, I can just record it. And I believe once people see that, it'll immediately change everything.
Out of curiosity, are you an organ donor, Karen? No, I'm not. And why? I've shared that in a previous video. My grandfather was in a 3-stage coma, and the doctors were pushing in front of my grandmother. Here, you know, we need this bed. He's in a 3-stage coma. He's going to be a vegetable. He's not going to come out of it. We could use his organs. Will you sign this and, you know, agree to use his organs? Because he's just going to be a vegetable. I mean, that was the attitude. He's just going to be a vegetable, so why keep him alive? He had a trachea. He was, you know, having people come in and moving his limbs while he was, you know, in this coma. I think I was about 11, and we went home, and I ran into my room and I opened up my Bible, and I just closed my eyes and I pointed, and under my finger it said, "Get the elders of the church to pray over the sick and anoint them with oil." I ran into my grandmother's room and I said, "You've got to do this for Pa." And I think back also, my grandfather wasn't a very nice man to my grandmother. He was actually a bastard of a man. But we did that. And can you believe we had a minister from the Church of England, which was the church he went to, and we had the Baptist minister, which was the church my grandmother went to. And the minister from the Church of England said to us, or said to me, "Look, if it's God's will that he's going to go, he's going to go." And the Baptist minister said, "Have faith." And I looked at the two of them and I thought, this Church of England minister is of little faith in God, because I believe in miracles. And I said that to him. I believe in miracles. And there was a miracle. The next day, my mother was sitting beside my grandfather. And she said, "Dad, I'm so sorry for everything," because they clashed. My mother and my grandfather clashed big time. She said, "I'm so sorry for everything." And he lifted his little finger. She called over to the nurse and the nurse said, "Oh, that's just a, reflex. His body's dying, muscles twitch." She said, "Dad, if you can hear me, lift your finger again." He lifted his finger again. He came out of that coma, and the first thing he said was, "God bless you." And then he told us that he could hear the doctors talking about his organs. Oh, we could use his heart. He's got good lungs. We could get the lungs. His eyes look okay. He said he could feel them poking and prodding at him. Now, as an organ donor, if they say that you're like my grandfather, brain dead, a vegetable, and you're going to die, guess what? They don't put you under like they do when you're having an operation. If they think that you're going to die and you're brain dead and everything like that, or you're going to be a vegetable, you are cut open alive. You feel everything. What kills you is the shock. So no. For that reason, I won't. I know it's selfish, but there's a history in my family of people dying and coming back to life. And my grandfather, the only thing that he had out of all that, because he bumped his head and ended up in that coma, he had a limp. That was it. My grandmother resuscitated 10 times, broken sternum, broken rib, bruised black and blue all down her chest from the neck. It was black as anything, the bruising. I don't know whether anyone else has seen someone who's been, using those paddles and everything. And my grandmother, when she came out, she said to me, "Who was that lady taking photos of me?" And what it was the electricity that she was seeing. It was going over her eyes and everything. And then I remember her saying, "What are those birds pruning themselves up there? Look at those birds." She was seeing angels. She's saying these birds are pruning themselves. And then it was like she started to sort of like go back to normal. But all she had was a tiny little scar on her heart after all that. And she lived oh goodness, another 15, 20 years. And they said to us she was going to die. And I said, no, you keep working on her. She's not going to die. And she didn't die. She got out of it. I struggle hard to forgive, and I know that holds me back, no one else. It will, Kylie, and forgiveness will come at the right time. When you're healing, I mean, but you can do it. There are some things that you will internalize and you'll push them down into the pit of your belly, and you'll just carry on, and you'll wonder why everything's like you're held back. It's like this magnet. You're trying to walk forward and the magnet's pulling you backwards. You can't, it's like I can't move forward. Everything just feels like it's stuck. It's going through the motion. That's the anchors that you've created by internalizing everything, by having all these grudges against people who don't care if you have a grudge against them or not. And the problem is you're carrying their karma. You are absolutely carrying all the things that they're meant to have. It's like you've taken that from them. You've taken that burden from them. So while you're holding on to that, and sometimes you can forgive, but you don't forget. Doesn't mean you're going to forget, but you can forgive. You can just say, write a letter, write down how angry you are and write at the bottom, but I forgive you because I have to forgive you so I can be free of this burden. And then I want you to burn that letter. Send it off to the universe where it belongs. It doesn't belong to you, that pain. Let it go. Now you might have noticed my earrings are representing the moon. On the 21st of this month, this Tuesday, we are going to have a new moon. And with the new moon, look at it as a new start. A new part of your life emerging on that day. A lot of wonderful things can happen, and a lot of intense things can happen when we have a new moon. Not saying you're going to turn into a werewolf or anything like that, but the new moon is a sign that you have to open your eyes to things. Think of it like this. You see the crest of a moon, see it there for a few days, and everything seems really, really dark. You get a full, like a new moon, and you can actually see in the dark. You can see things. So this is a time of clearing things from your home, from your life, things that are cluttering your life, healing yourself in some way spiritually, for putting your crystals out for cleansing. It can do so many things. If you think about the moon, it does control the emotions. And it also controls the fertility of females. That's why every month, every lunar calendar, a female who is, able to release eggs, if you will have her cycle. And you'll usually find in one household, all the females in that household are in tune with one another, even if they are not related. They can all have that part of the month around the same time, because it's all controlled by the moon. The moon controls the ocean. The moon even controls man. So men, you are not eliminated from this. You are also controlled by the moon. Your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, your attitude. You've got to ask yourself, on the new moon, what am I going to change in my life? Am I going to do a big cleanup? I intend on doing that. I've got a lot of things, a lot of crap to get out. So crystals need cleansing. Put a glass on the wall, like on the windowsill, if your windowsill is big enough, and cover it over with some Glad wrap, plastic cover or a lid. Sit it in the moonlight, and if you have a crystal, put the crystal next to it, or you might even want to put the crystal inside the water so it charges that water. And what you're going to be taking into you as you drink that water is clarity, is a new way of life. This is a time of transition, so be ready. It's coming. There's going to be a lot of things happening after Tuesday. Sonia Kelly, my granddad was the same. After so much suffering that night, he gave me a kiss and told me he would always be with me, and I'm truly blessed. Beautiful. My dad came for my mum. So many souls came together, came to get her, and she was at peace before she died, and that gave me peace. I feel like I'm going crazy watching everything. I get so disheartened and confused. This world is insane. How do we make this normal and work? My papa always told me, if I don't stop and smell the roses, I'll miss life's greatest giving. We all need to love and respect the earth. Reply to Tonya was, he was right, is right. Tonya says, I recycle, I compost, I try not to eat anything processed to be able to make a small difference. I've also been brought up this way and know no difference. But if we all did this, what a difference it would make. Absolutely. I said on one of Karen's posts, if you peel off a person's skin, you would not know if they are black, white, pink, with purple polka dots. We are all the same. Absolutely. Well, there's several races, but yes, we are the human race. Forgiveness is a process, and you need to work at it. The more you work at it, the easier it gets. I too forgave an abusive partner. I started to heal in an instant. I became strong because of 3 words. Deb says, love a good new moon. Tonya says, I hope I am out of hospital by then. I need to charge my crystals. Well, give thanks. Give thanks for being released from hospital before that. But even if not, you've still got the opportunity of visualizing the moon embracing your crystals, even if you're not there with them. You're a lot stronger than you realize. Oh no, yes, don't put selenite. This is selenite. Don't put selenite in water. The only crystal you can put in water is either a quartz, like a rose quartz, or a rutilated quartz, or a clear quartz. These types of things. These ones that look like they're I'll show you up close if I can get it near the camera. Hang on, try and focus it. It's got like little tiny, come on, focus. It's got little tiny ridges on it. Selenite's very fragile. It actually dissolves in water. If you put this in water long enough, it will end up dissolving. I wouldn't recommend it. So just the clear quartz or a rose quartz, And this is the clear quartz. You can see it's got a lot of rainbow and lovely little markings inside. It weighs a lot too. So you could even get like a tiny little quartz, ones that are about that big. Just drop it in the water. The next day you take it out. So obviously you're just leaving it overnight. It's not going to do much harm. So leave it on the windowsill and drink the water, and as you drink, just say repeatedly in your mind that I'm taking in clarity. I'm taking in the opportunity to see the bigger picture and what I need to do. You can even put like a little bit of food coloring if you want in your water. The red food coloring, the cochineal, which is actually a bug, crushed bug. That's right, cochineal is a bug. Okay, so yes, clear quartz is the best, but you can have the crystals on the outside of the glass. They don't have to necessarily be inside the glass. How do you clear blockages? That's a really good question. The best way to clear blockages is to meditate. Take time out for you. Just stop. That's the important thing. Just stop what you're doing and just focus. And when I do, like I use my prayer wheel, and after each client, when I do readings, if I feel they've got problems, I usually use my prayer wheel and I meditate and ask that they be relieved of their problems, that all the problems go. So if you like, Lauren, I'll do this for you now. What I want you to do, if anyone who's watching has something that is troubling them, pain, loss, feeling stuck, feeling confused about things, something's happening, it's going. Okay, we've got a few coming through. Okay, Spirit. Maddie. Bani Padme Hum. 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 Sit healing to all. Hum.